Hello and welcome to English Capsules. Today's capsule, Roald Dahl. Get your coffee ready and let's get started.
Okay, welcome everyone. Roald Dahl was a spy, ace fighter pilot, chocolate historian, and medical inventor. He was also the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, the BFG, and many more brilliant stories. He remains the world's #1 storyteller.
So, today our episode starts like this because we're going to get into a topic that may sound like one of our random topics, right? But this time we're going to focus a little bit on literature. And this time we're going to focus on Roald Dahl because in September we commemorate Roald Dahl's Day.
Because he was born in this month.
So he's a very interesting man. And probably you know him not necessarily because of one of his books, rather because of one of of the movies based on the books. So when we
So,
were preparing this episode, you were mentioning one of the movies that you remember.
yeah, the first movie that came to my mind when we started talking about him was called The Witches. And it was very shocking for me because it was about witches who hated children. So whenever they saw a child, they turned that child into a rat. So imagine watching that on TV. It was like, I don't know, I don't have the words to describe it, but it was like very shocking because I was also a child. So I was going to sleep thinking that there was a witch near my house coming after me. This movie had a remake uh, done last year. No, last year, no, 2020, some years ago.
Quite recent.
Quite, yeah. And I think that many of you have seen the trailer in which we can see Anne Hathaway as the protagonist. So this is one
So,
of the ones that I remember.
so
But
in
I'm
case you
sure,
don't know, you audience don't know, there's a book by Roald Dahl called The Witches.
right.
um,
Another movie which I think that many of us have watched is Matilda, right?
Especially if you grew up in the 90s.
Right. Well, but my children have also watched it because you can find it now in many of the platforms that we use today to watch movies. So,
So one thing that I want to say about Matilda, um, because I have like Roald Dahl's library, but I have it like in standby until my son grows up and we start reading the books together. However, Matilda, I read the book. And I do have to say that though I love the movie because I think it's a very good movie,
mhm.
it falls really short
Okay.
because there are some really witty comments of Matilda in the book. Some very the humor of the book is like quite specific. So
Hmm.
in the movie, as most of the time happens when a book is turned into a
Yeah.
movie, we miss some of these things. So even though Miss Trunchbull is fully depicted there, um, there are some things, some dialogues that could have been included and are not.
Hmm.
And they are like quite awesome for a little girl because Matilda is a little girl.
Yeah. Sure. But well, this always, or most times, this happens with movies because in a movie we have the interpretation of the director, and well, when you read the book, it's like your interpretation. So,
So one of the characteristics of his books that since we're talking about the movies and stuff, and we both mentioned the fact that there are children there, is
hmm,
that all of his books have children as protagonists. But these are not like random children. These
no.
are really smart children. And these characters tend to be really critic of society. So I think he does this because a child is not like liable for his opinions on the world. Like
Hmm.
you're going to say, okay, he's a child and that's why he's saying this. But they are very critic.
Very clever, and many times they play the role of like kind of a hero in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because
So probably the third movie that is like really, really popular is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Mhm.
um, with the Oompa Loompas and all this sweet chocolate.
And Willy Wonka, who doesn't know Willy Wonka, right?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's not like one of my favorite movies or books or whatever. Like I don't have a fancy. I
It's
read the
like
book with
strange.
one of my students, but I didn't particularly enjoy it.
It is a bit strange, but okay, it has these ingredients that we were saying. Kids who are clever, they play the role of a hero. There is also a bit of dark humor. So he he's consistent on his style of writing and the protagonists and the choices that he makes when he writes. So this is a characteristic that you can clearly see in his books and also in the movies. So maybe you like it or not, but from the literary point of view, he created maybe his own style.
But
There's always a but.
so this happens. Yes, it does happen in most of his books. He's consistent. However, there is one book which I love. That is not purely a novel because these ones are like novels or
Mm-hmm.
children's books. Um, there's one that is called Revolting Rhymes, and these are poems. And
Okay.
these poems play with traditional fairy tales. So in this series, he doesn't go like into his own characters. So these are
Mm-hmm.
traditional characters like Little Red Riding Hood, who in this case takes control of the situation with a gun
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
ends up with a fur coat made out of the wolf's skin.
Right.
So these ones are a bit different and I think a bit out of his comfort zone, probably. But if you have never read The Revolting Rhymes, I highly recommend them. And besides, they are quite challenging because the vocabulary is not easy.
That they are short doesn't really mean that they are easy.
Yeah.
So this is what we were saying also related to Shrek before we started recording this episode. This is what happens with movies in with the Shrek movies, right? Classical characters having another behavior that usually they are not supposed to have according to the stories.
And on top of that, the other thing that they have in common is that the humor depicted, I think that is appealing for both children and adults. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you have read any of his books when you were a child, probably you understood them one way.
Of course.
But if you take on reading that book again when you are an adult, you find
As
them entertaining as you did when you were little because it's got a humor that appeals to everyone. And probably
yeah.
children are not going to see some of
Details.
the details, yeah. But you can rediscover his books when you grow up.
That's why for kids, the plots are very simple in a way. When you reread the books as an adult, you find that maybe the plot is a bit deeper or it leaves you like thinking about some argument or some questions or yeah. Okay. So if you haven't if you haven't read them when you were an adult, so after all we have talked about this brilliant author, we are going to leave the audience um, a short activity, a short task. So, for all of you listening to us, we're going to leave you three options of the most popular movies based on Roald Dahl books, and you have to vote which of these is your favorite. And then the second task is a bit more specific because it is for teachers. So if you are the teacher, the question is, would you use Roald Dahl's books or stories or characters in a class of yours? And if you have already used the books, what did you use them for? How did you use them? Or what was the purpose of using them? Okay. So, in order to give a closure to this episode, we are going to finish with a section of Matilda's book.
So I've chosen particularly this part because I think it's going to help us both commemorate Roald Dahl.
Mm-hmm.
But September is quite related to us teachers.
That's right.
So this is what Matilda would do if she was a teacher. If I were a teacher, I would cook up some real scorchers for the children of doting parents. Your son, Maximilian, I would write, is a total washout. I hope you have a family business you can push him into when he leaves school, because he sure as heck won't get a job anywhere else. Or if I were feeling lyrical that day, I might write, it is a curious truth that grasshoppers have their hearing organs in the sides of the abdomen. Your daughter Vanessa, judging by what she's learned this term, has no hearing organs at all.
I think that many teachers who would love to write that. We can't. We can't.
So happy Teachers Day to everyone. Happy Teachers Month.
Happy Teachers Day and Happy Students Day also.